As the Clinton email crisis grows exponentially, more sensitive materials turn up, and a Watergate legend turns back the clock with an alarming comparison. This is Special Report. Good evening, I'm Doug McElway in for Brett Baer. Hundreds more potentially classified emails have been identified by investigators reviewing Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server during her time as Secretary of State. Clinton is trying to dismiss the uproar as partisan politics, but now a man who helped uncover one of the biggest political scandals in history is seeing some disturbing parallels. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has tonight's top story.
State Department officials revealed today they've flagged 305 of Hillary Clinton's emails that may contain classified data. The court papers stating this new number is based on the State Department reviewing just 20% of Clinton's 30,000 official emails. All of this despite Clinton's original claim there was absolutely no classified information on her server, as the candidate over the weekend tried to laugh off the FBI investigation.
By the way, you may have seen that I recently launched a Snapchat account. I love it. I love it. Those messages disappear all by themselves.
This comes as investigative reporter Bob Woodward declares the investigation is actually deadly serious and has echoes of Watergate.
Nixon would always say, oh yeah, everything was fine, it looked good. He didn't remember the bad stuff. And that's human nature. We don't remember the bad stuff. And 60,000 emails, my God.
Clinton continues to push the latest version of her defense. There were no classified markings on the emails as she campaigned in Iowa and repeatedly tried to portray this as political attacks by Republicans over Benghazi and dismissed what is now an FBI investigation as whatever.
I never sent classified material on my email, and I never received any that was marked classified. So I'm going to let whatever this inquiry is go forward. I won't pretend that this is anything other than what it is, the same old partisan games. The ones running for president, there is an unfortunate tendency to try to make partisan a tragedy in Benghazi.
Republican Trey Gowdy, chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, fired back. Clinton is citing right-wing conspiracies that do not exist.
I get that she's frustrated. Her poll numbers are tanking. Folks who never thought about getting into the race are getting in the race. But she need not blame House Republicans for having her own personal server.
As the conservative PAC America Rising released a new hard-hitting ad.
How do you have a private email server as Secretary of State and scrub it? And I'm going to believe you.
A new Fox poll shows Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders keeps gaining ground. Clinton leads with 49%, down slightly from a couple of weeks ago, while Sanders has climbed another 8 points to 30%, as Vice President Joe Biden is waiting, trying to decide whether to get in. Doug?
Ed Henry here in the D.C. Bureau. Thank you, Ed. He often acts as though he has no peer, but today presidential candidate and political showman Donald Trump auditioned for a spot on someone's jury of their peers. And while the Donald was not accepted as a juror, he is apparently becoming more accepted among the jury pool that he really cares about, the voters. Correspondent Rich Edson has tonight's Republican Roundup.
Billionaire, Republican frontrunner, potential juror. Donald Trump reported as ordered to court in Manhattan for jury duty, arriving in a black town car.
Something we have to do.
A much more understated arrival than his weekend landing in Iowa. Trump toured the Iowa State Fair, snacking on a pork chop on a stick, and later outlining his immigration proposal. Charge Mexico for the construction of a border wall, and granting citizenship to those born to parents who are in the U.S. illegally, and cut off federal funding to U.S. cities that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Trump continues to lead the Republican field by a wide margin, with a quarter of primary voters supporting him. Ben Carson nearly doubles his support. Texas Senator Ted Cruz picks up 4. And former Florida Governor Jeb Bush drops 6 points and falls into 4th place. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker sheds 3 percentage points. Carly Fiorina improves her position, jumping to 5%. Behind Fiorina and improving slightly, Ohio Governor John Kasich. Senator Marco Rubio and Governor Chris Christie round out the top 10. Senator Rand Paul has fallen from the top 10, losing 2 percentage points. The bottom 6 candidates failed to generate momentum in the past few weeks, with Senator Lindsey Graham still polling at 0. Graham joined Fiorina and Walker in soapbox speeches in Iowa today. Walker faced a mix of applause and jeers, with some declaring he's failed his state of Wisconsin.
Again, unintimidated. I am not intimidated by you, sir, or anyone else out there. I will fight for the American people over and over and over and over again. You want someone who's tested? I'm right here. You can see it.
Hours later, former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina explained her opposition to a federal minimum wage, saying state governments should set them.
Because it makes no sense to say that the minimum wage in New York City is the same as the minimum wage in Mason City, Iowa. That makes no sense. Secondly, we have to remember that a lot of minimum wage jobs are jobs where people start. And in those jobs, they learn skills to move forward.
And a source with Right to Rise, a super PAC supporting Jeb Bush, is just telling Fox News it plans to spend at least $15 million on ads in the early voting states of New Hampshire, Iowa, and South Carolina, running from September through the end of the year. Doug?
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. A major setback tonight for amateur athletes seeking a bigger piece of the multi-billion-dollar college sports pie. The National Labor Relations Board has unanimously voted to overturn a historic ruling giving football players at Northwestern University permission to unionize. The NLRB says that could lead to different standards at different schools and a competitive imbalance. The decision only applies to private schools such as Northwestern. The Obama administration has given Royal Dutch Shell the final permit it needs to drill for oil in the Arctic Ocean. The project off Alaska's northwest coast will be the first since 1991. Environmental groups oppose offshore drilling, contending it will harm wildlife and expose the area to oil spills. Stocks were up today. The Dow gained 68, the S&P 500 finished ahead 11, and NASDAQ was up 43. More wildfires keep starting in the west, where thousands of firefighters are battling blazes over hundreds of thousands of acres. Correspondent William Lajeunesse has tonight's story.
Now I just hope and pray our house will be okay.
Edith Laggy was forced to flee this fast-moving wildfire in central Washington. 10,000 families lost power, 75 lost their homes.
I fought fire in the past, but it's different when you're home and family and all your possessions are sitting in the way.
Look at all that, your life is going up in smoke.
Nationwide, 95 large fires are burning uncontained, destroying 800,000 acres, an area the size of Rhode Island.
They came quick, it came hot and heavy, and then the winds kicked up, and it just was unstoppable.
I got there as soon as I could, and we grabbed what things we could quickly and left.
We don't have enough resources to put this huge containment line around all this fire.
The Interagency Fire Center in Boise raised the national alert level Monday to 5, the highest possible, meaning virtually every asset, firefighter, airplane, and helicopter is committed to an existing fire. If things get worse, officials say they may request help from Australia or New Zealand. Around the West, in Oregon, Montana, Idaho, and California, firefighters face a triple threat: a record-setting heat wave, high winds, and drought. A single strike of lightning could spell disaster.
If the drought would continue for a year or several years, California can literally burn up.
Even in the Bay Area, miles from any fire, residents can see the haze and smell the smoke.
The smoke came in like real early this morning. You could see it. When it first came in, you could smell it, actually.
Two new developments today. The Department of Defense mobilized active duty U.S. military to fight the western wildfires, while in Montana, 7 fires are burning out of control with no one available to fight them. Doug?
William Lajeunesse from Los Angeles, thank you. Coming up next, he aspired to jihad and threatened to behead his very own daughter. An ISIS wannabe appears in court. But first, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. WPRI in Providence, Rhode Island, with the burial of a decorated Green Beret from Bristol. 35-year-old First Sergeant Peter Andrew McKenna was killed August 7th during an attack on Camp Integrity in Kabul, Afghanistan. He served in the military for 17 years. Fox 2 in Detroit with a tiger on the loose at the old Packard plant on the city's east side. A British film crew snuck the tiger onto the property, but it got away. Police say the animal has been recaptured. And this is a live look at San Francisco from Fox 2, where they had an interesting morning.
Cassie Jean, because everybody was sending out pictures of, be it Mount Amana, Mount Diablo, you name it. Everyone was obscured. Oh my gosh, we're having an earthquake. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a good one.
That magnitude 4 earthquake struck in Oakland Hills at 6:49 local time, jolting residents awake from Martinez to San Francisco. No injuries were reported, but these sleeping dogs did not lie. The quake got their full attention. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.